Dear friend, I want to start this article with a truth that your mind has probably never thought of. You are awakening right now, even if you don't realize it. Awakening, in the spirit of Nisargadatta Maharaj, is a silent shift within where you begin to realize that all that you used to call me are actually fragments of memories, habits, and illusions. At some point in your life, you suddenly feel, I am no longer the same person. The old goals no longer attract me. The invisible call from deep within your heart is pulling you inward. You begin to observe things more. Instead of reacting, you feel a strange weariness with the endless pursuit of society. It is not boredom. It is not falling into a void. It is not losing direction. All of these are signs of awakening, like a sprout pushing through the heavy soil to break through. Nisargadatta Maharaja once said, "You don't have to search for the truth. You just have to see that everything you cling to is not you. And when the things you once believed to be me begin to fall away, you won't immediately recognize it as awakening. Because the ego, in its sophistication, always thinks that awakening must be something extraordinary. But the truth is the opposite. Awakening is a return to the most ordinary thing, the very presence that breathes within you. Awakening is when you ask, who am I behind all these emotions? Who is watching every thought in my head? What has not changed in me since childhood? Why do I feel a deep emptiness inside that I cannot name? Just the germination of those questions is enough. No thunder needed. No miracle needed. That is the moment you begin to awaken without knowing it. You were never unconscious. You were just asleep in the story of your mind. Subtle signs of awakening that most people don't notice. Awakening never comes in the form of a storm. It comes like a night breeze, so gentle that if you are not silent, you will not feel it. I share with you the signs that many people experience before they realize they are awakening. 1. When you begin to doubt the ego. At some point, you no longer fully believe in the story of, I am this person, I must be this, I must achieve that. You begin to see the ego as a role, sometimes silly, sometimes pitiful, sometimes funny. When you see yourself acting, you have begun to awaken. 2. When you see the emptiness of material pleasure. One day, you achieve what you once dreamed of, but instead of complete happiness, you feel a strange absence. It is a sign that you have reached the limit of your human ego, and the soul begins to rise. 3. When you feel an invisible pull towards you. That is the moment when you no longer want to run outside. You want to be quiet, to be alone, to return to the feeling of being within yourself. That is the call of self. Atman, your true self. 4. When you begin to recognize the observer, you notice that there is a part of you that is always awake, always seeing everything, but not caught up in any emotion or thought. That is the pure I am that Maharaj talks about. When you recognize the observer also begins to recognize you. 5. When loneliness becomes space, you are no longer afraid of being alone. Solitude suddenly becomes a safe, spacious place where you can breathe deeply. You begin to see what Maharaj always said. When you are alone, you are not really alone. You are yourself. 6. When pain becomes a question, who is suffering? Not a philosophical question, not an escape from reality, but a deep look where you realize emotions come and go, but something in you is not shaken. Just by looking directly at the pain, you have entered a new stage of awareness. 7. When you no longer react as before, you are no longer easily angered, no longer arguing about right and wrong, no longer agitated by the words of others. It is not that you are weak. It is a maturity of seeing. Inside you, a new energy is emerging, calm. Nisargadatta Maharaj's central thought, I am, the key to all awakenings. Dear friend, When you enter the treasury of Nisargadatta Maharaj's wisdom, you will see something very strange. He does not talk much about the universe, does not describe the heavens, does not explain thousands of meditation methods, does not open up metaphysical levels of power, does not give complicated rituals. All he reminds, day after day, for decades, is only one thing. Remain with the I am. Stay with the feeling, I am. Maharaja's cosmology is so simple that it can disappoint the seeker. But it is that simplicity that is the door to the absolute, because truth is never complicated. Only the mind is complicated. 1. I am is the root of all experience. Before you become a man, a woman, a successful person, a failure, a religious person, an atheist, a Vietnamese person, an American person, before all those designations, you already exist. The moment you open your eyes to life, there are no concepts, but you still know that I am here. That is I am. I am is the deepest part that you can realize by direct experience, without thinking. Nisargadatta Maharaj said, "The sense I am is the first ignorance, yet also the doorway to the absolute. The feeling I am is the first ignorance, but also the doorway to the absolute. It is both an illusion and the gateway to liberation." 2. Why does Maharaj ask his disciples to abide in I am without adding any concepts? If you say, I am this person, you add an identity. I am the soul, you also add an identity. I am light is still an identity. I am cosmic consciousness is also a concept. Only when you simply stay with the feeling of I am, adding nothing else, do you transcend all illusions. When you abide in pure I am, you begin to detach from the body, detach from the mind, detach from the emotions, detach from the identity. You become the observer. Not this body, not this mind, not this life story, just presence. 3. I am extinguishes the illusion of the seeker. The seeker always asks, what do I do to awaken? Am I on the right path? What am I missing? When will I see the truth? But Maharaja looked straight at them and said, you are the very truth you seek. You are what you are seeking. You do not awaken by becoming better, stronger, more skillful, meditating deeper. You awaken by realizing that the one who is trying to awaken was never you. When you return to I am, the seeker disappears. Only presence remains. For the state of no more I am what. You can try it right now. Let go of all identifications. Don't say who am I, what am I? Just feel. I am present. It is pure space where the individual ego dissolves, and you begin to realize you are no longer limited by the story of your life. You are no longer constrained by the past. You no longer see the world through the lens of your ego. You no longer try to become someone. You become the sky, not the cloud. That is the basis of awakening. 5. The awakened person does not find himself because he has never been lost. Maharaj famously said, you do not become the self. You realize you were never the non-self. You do not find your true self. You only realize that you were never what you thought you were. Awakening is not an achievement. It is rediscovering what you already are. 6. You do not need to awaken. You only need to stop believing that you are asleep. This is one of the most profound insights of Advaita. You are not asleep. Only the mind believes that it is asleep. You are not lost. Only the ego believes that it is lost. You are not lacking anything. Only the concept that you are lacking. The only problem is the false belief about yourself. And so the only way is to return to I am. The primal feeling of being without analysis, without interpretation, without effort. 6 inner transformations that signal you have entered a higher stage of awakening. 1. You no longer run away from loneliness. You return to it like coming home. Before, loneliness scared you. It was like a deep abyss you didn't dare look into. But as awakening unfolds, loneliness becomes sacred silence. You no longer feel alone. You feel complete. Loneliness is like returning to the deepest room within yourself. There, you are no longer separated. 2. You begin to see the ego in action as soon as it arises. You are no longer carried away by emotions, thoughts, or reactions. You see them. You see the comparison. You see the defensiveness. You see the self-centeredness. You see the complaining. You see the wanting to win or lose. But the strange thing is, you are no longer identified with them. You are like a person standing on the bank watching the river flow. The river still flows, but you are no longer the river. 3. You feel your pain, but are no longer afraid of it. Even when suffering appears, you no longer panic. You welcome it as a guest who needs to be listened to. You feel the emotions without judgment. You do not run away. You do not suppress. The pain becomes a mirror, not an enemy. That is a big leap on the path to awakening. For you no longer crave to be more spiritual. This is a profound sign that many people do not notice. When the ego is strong, it wants to be a better practitioner, a more enlightened person, a more special person. But when awakening opens, you see that these desires are meaningless. You don't try to be spiritual. You simply are yourself, present, genuine, unadorned. That is true spirituality. 5. You become very light because you stop carrying your story. You start letting go of the things that hurt you, the past, resentments, unfulfilled dreams, images of the future, things you thought you had to keep at all costs. You carry the only thing that remains, presence. And presence is not heavy. It is like breathing, like wind. 6. You feel a silence inside, not the silence of the ears, but the silence of the mind. There are times when you sit down and realize that there is no noise inside you. Although thoughts still arise, they no longer touch you. It is like you hear people walking on the street, but you don't pay attention. You are deeper than the noise. You touch the undisturbed zone. That is the silence that all the masters talk about. Awakening does not come through effort. Let go of seeking. The vision reveals itself. I know you may have been on the spiritual path for a long time. You may have tried very hard to become a higher version of yourself. But my dear friend, let me say this gently. No one can find the self beyond the self by the effort of the ego. That is the point. Effort is of the ego. The self, the absolute, is beyond the reach of any effort. 1. Why cannot effort lead to awakening? Because effort always has a doer. That doer is the ego. The ego that seeks awakening is the ego that wants to draw God towards itself. But how can the temporary attain the eternal? You cannot go to awakening as to a goal. Awakening is not a destination, but the disappearance of the seeker. 2. The more the ego seeks, the further you go. Nisargadatta Maharaj said, "The seeker is the problem. Stop seeking, and what you seek will reveal itself." When you try to attain awakening, you have already affirmed that you are not yet awakened. When you try to become enlightened, you have already affirmed that you are not yet. It is an endless cycle. The more you seek, the further you go. The more you try, the more tired you become. But when you stop, when you drop all desire to attain something, the truth is right where you are. 3. Awakening comes when you are exhausted with the mind's games. Most people come to awakening through a strange path, not through enlightenment, but through being too tired to continue believing in illusions. When you have tasted enough joy and pain, enough victory and defeat, enough fame and loss, you suddenly stop and ask, what in all this is real? It is the question, not the effort, that opens the door. For letting go of seeking is not letting go of life. It is letting go of the seeker. Letting go of seeking does not mean being passive or neglectful. It does not mean ceasing to meditate, to stop living, to stop doing. Letting go means no longer being a seeker of truth, no longer trying to reach a special state, no longer relying on the mind to find freedom. Letting go is seeing that you are already where you are. 5. When effort ceases, the original insight arises. That is the moment you realize you are not thinking, you are not feeling, you are not the body, you are not your story. There is a deep silence, not because you create it, but because when you stop trying, the truth reveals itself, like the sun when the clouds part. You cannot create the sun. You can only stop creating the clouds. 6. Awakening does not happen to you. It happens when you disappear. This is the most subtle, the most difficult point, but also the core of all non-dual teachings. The ego does not awaken. The ego does not evolve. The ego does not become better. The ego simply dissolves, and the already luminous being shines. Like night cannot become day. The night can only disappear when the sun appears.